The tornado that tore through Pikeville, Tennessee did not leave much room for argument. The winds were clocked past 261 miles an hour. A farm that had stood for generations was simply gone. The house, gone. The outbuildings, gone. Trees stripped down to splinters. And standing in the middle of all that scoured ground, unbent, its bolts still tight, was a single building. It was a curved steel shell that looked like half of a giant pipe pushed up out of the earth. The owner had been using it to store hay. That is not a freak. One-time story. A helicopter pilot who flew over the wreckage of Hurricane Katrina described seeing the exact same thing from the air. Entire neighborhoods of wood frame houses had been reduced to matchsticks beneath him, and almost the only structures he kept spotting intact were these same rounded steel arches. He said the only ones he saw destroyed were the ones where something else had already fallen on top of them. In Callaway, Florida, a man rode out Hurricane Michael, a Category 5 storm carrying 160-mile-an-hour winds at landfall. And when the eye passed over his home, his steel arch garage did not have a single crack in its frame. These are Quonset huts, curved, corrugated steel buildings the United States Navy first pressed into service in 1941. And that same shape is now being built into full family homes, very often in an H-shaped layout that turns one long tube into something you would actually want to live in. This is not a fringe claim off a forum thread. Versions of these arches are tested against the same missile impact standard the Federal Emergency Management Agency uses for certified storm shelters. And many carry Florida's high velocity hurricane zone approval, which is the strictest wind certification anywhere in the country. So here's the part that should stop you. A building this tough can go up for a fraction of what a conventional house costs. Designed correctly, its heating bill can round all the way down to nothing across a full year. And yet, in some counties in this country, it is flatly illegal to live in one. And across most of the rest of it, your bank will refuse to treat it as a house at all. Before this is over, you are going to understand exactly how a curved steel shell beats a storm that erases everything around it. How the right design drops your heating bill to zero, why the H-shape is the version that finally works, and who quietly benefits from keeping every bit of this off your street. Start with the survival because it sounds like the least believable part and it is the easiest to explain. When a normal house fails in a windstorm, it almost never fails because the wind is strong enough to crush it. It fails because of shape. A conventional house is a box with flat walls and a flat or gently pitched roof. And to fast-moving air, a flat surface is a target. Wind hits the flat wall and piles up pressure against it. Worse, as it rushes over the edge of the roof, it speeds up and drops in pressure. And that low pressure above the roof acts like a hand lifting upward. This is the same lift that holds an airplane in the sky. On a house, it tries to peel the roof off. Engineers have measured catastrophic roof damage on ordinary buildings at wind speeds as low as 65 to 75 miles an hour, which is barely a strong thunderstorm. Once the roof goes, the walls lose their bracing, the wind gets inside, and the whole box comes apart. Now look at the arch. There is no flat wall for the wind to shove against and no roof edge to grab. The air simply slides up and over a smooth curve, and the shape gives it almost nothing to push on or peel. That is the aerodynamic half of the story. The structural half is even older. An arch carries its load the way a stone bridge has carried loads for thousands of years, in compression, with the weight pressing down through the curve into the ground rather than hanging off beams and joints that can snap. There are no roof trusses to fail because the roof and the walls are the same continuous piece of steel. And here is the detail most people never think about. On these buildings, the steel sheets overlap and bolt through interlocking seams, so wind cannot find a gap to pry into and inflate the building from the inside. Shape sheds the wind, compression carries the load, and the sealed skin gives the storm no way in. That is the whole trick, and it is why the thing was left standing when the farmhouse next to it was not. The idea is one of the oldest in modern building, and it came out of a hurry. In 1941, the Navy needed a structure it could ship flat to anywhere on Earth and have untrained sailors bolt together in a single day. A team at Quonset Point in Rhode Island answered with the corrugated steel arch, and it worked so well that roughly 170,000 of them were built before the war ended. When the fighting stopped, the military sold the surplus off cheap, and veterans and families across the country turned them into houses, workshops, and stores because they were strong and they were almost free. That is the piece the story usually forgets. The Quonset was a home long before it was a novelty, and the reason it faded was never that it stopped working. The modern versions are far tougher than the wartime originals. Today's arch homes are commonly engineered for sustained winds of 140 to 180 miles an hour, and the manufacturers will tell you that if you ask for it, the software will design 1 to 200 miles an hour, a wind speed no building department in the United States even requires. 200 miles an hour is the line the National Weather Service uses to mark the top of its tornado scale. In other words, you can order a house rated into the same wind band as the strongest tornado on record, and you cannot buy that number on a normal stick frame home at any price. The certification is real and specific. To earn storm shelter approval, testers fire a 15-pound wooden 2x4 out of a cannon at the wall at 100 miles an hour horizontally and 67 miles an hour straight down, simulating the debris a tornado throws, and the steel is expected to take the hit and hold. That is why the woman in Pikeville still had her building, and why a longtime owner in Puerto Rico credited his steel arch with saving $70,000 of belongings when Hurricane Maria came through. Which brings us to the claim that sounds like pure fantasy, the heating bill of zero. Set your skepticism aside for a second because the mechanism is real, and it starts with pure geometry. A curved arch encloses a given amount of living space using less outside surface than a boxy house does. Think of it this way: heat escapes through surfaces, through walls and roofs and their corners and seams. The less outside skin you wrap around the same volume of air, the fewer places you have for heat to leak out. The arch is one of the most efficient shapes there is for enclosing space with minimal surface, which means before you have done anything else, an arch home simply has less area bleeding heat than a rectangular one of the same size. Then you stack the design on top of the shape. The floor is usually a thick concrete slab, and concrete is thermal mass, meaning it soaks up heat slowly and gives it back slowly. Point the long open face of the arch toward the south and fill that wall with tall glass, and on a winter day the low sun pours straight in and warms that slab all afternoon. When the sun goes down, the slab keeps radiating that stored warmth back into the room for hours. One family in Pennsylvania built exactly this, a Quonset home with 7 large windows lined across the south wall, specifically to flood the concrete floor with passive solar heat, and they put the whole thing up for less than $35,000. The tall, curved ceiling helps again in summer because hot air rises and vents out the top through what engineers call the stack effect, pulling cooler air in low and letting the house breathe without a machine. Add real insulation, spray foam bonded to the inside of that curved shell, and you close the loop. There is a home in Nevada built from double steel arches that was tested against the Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready Home Standard, and even before a single solar panel went on the roof, its energy bills were remarkably low, purely from super insulation, tight construction, and that efficient shape. Pair a house like that with a modest solar array and it can produce as much energy across the year as it consumes. That is the honest, defensible version of heating for zero, not a magic furnace. A house shaped and oriented so that the sun and the slab do the heating, and your yearly energy balance lands at nothing. That is more impressive than the myth, and unlike the myth, it is true. Now, weigh the H. Because a single long steel tube, for all its strength, makes a mediocre house, and the people building these figured out how to fix that. A lone arch is a tunnel. Light only gets in from the 2 open ends. The middle stays dark, and the floor space where the wall curves down to the ground is too low to use, so you lose the edges of every room. The H shape solves all of it at once. You set 2 arch runs parallel, a little apart, and join them in the center with a connecting section, and in plan view that forms the letter H. Suddenly you have 4 open glass ends instead of 2, so daylight and winter sun reach deep into the home. You get a shorter distance from any wall to a window, so no room is a cave. The central connector becomes a bright shared living space and a natural breezeway, letting air cross straight through the house for cooling. And critically, it lets you separate zones, quiet bedrooms in one arch, the loud kitchen and living and workshop in the other, without the sound of one bleeding into the other. The H is not decoration. It is the layout that turns the toughest, cheapest shell in residential building into a home a family actually wants. So take the scorecard for what it is. Cheaper to build than conventional, tougher in a storm than almost anything on your street, able to heat itself down to nothing with sunlight and concrete. And when you shape it as an H, genuinely pleasant to live in. A building that good should be everywhere. So where is it? Here's where the story turns, and the strangest part was never the storm or the bill. It is the paperwork. Start with the blunt version, because it exists. In more places than you would guess, living in one of these is simply against the law. The zoning code in Santa Cruz County, Arizona spells it out in plain language, stating that metal prefabricated buildings, Quonset huts, and butler-type buildings are prohibited for residential purposes. A village ordinance in Rothbury, Michigan, on the books since 1968, makes it unlawful to use any building commonly known as a Quonset hut as a dwelling at all. These are not safety codes. A structure certified to survive a 200-mile-an-hour wind is not being banned because anyone fears it will fall down. It is being banned by rules whose stated purpose is aesthetically pleasing and uniform development, which is planning office language for we do not want it to look different from the other houses. But the outright bans are the small problem. The real wall is money, and it is quieter and far more effective. Try to get a mortgage on a Quonset home and you run straight into it. Multiple builders report that banks categorize these houses as agricultural outbuildings or temporary structures, no matter that a family is clearly living in one full-time. The core reason is the appraisal. An appraiser values your home by comparing it to similar homes that recently sold nearby, what the industry calls comparables. And because arch homes are rare, there is nothing to compare yours to. With no comparables, the appraiser cannot assign a confident value. And with no confident value, the underwriter will not approve a normal loan. So getting financed usually means hunting down a specialty portfolio lender willing to make an exception and paying a higher interest rate for the privilege. Some people give up and finance with a land loan or a personal loan at far worse terms. Insurers pile on too, charging more and pointing to concerns like fire escape from curved walls, and resale is harder because the pool of buyers who understand the building is small. Sit with what that actually means. The building is not being kept rare because it fails. It is being kept rare because a system built entirely around one kind of house, the rectangular, wood-frame mortgageable house, has no slot to put anything else in. The appraiser needs it to look like the last sale. The lender needs the appraiser. The whole machine runs on sameness. And a curved steel home that heats itself and shrugs off tornadoes is punished precisely because it is different, not because it is worse. If you have ever felt like the rules quietly herd you toward the most expensive, most fragile, most bill-generating way to put a roof over your head, this is one of the places you can actually see the fence. It is not you, it is the machine, and the machine was not built with your interest in mind. Now the fair turn, because you deserve the honest answer and not a sales pitch. This is not the right house for everyone, and a curved steel shell done cheaply can go wrong. Bare steel is a poor insulator and it sweats. Warm indoor air hitting a cold metal skin will condense into water that drips inside, and the steel ribs themselves conduct cold straight through in a phenomenon called thermal bridging. Every good example in this video defeated that with serious insulation, vapor barriers, and sometimes non-metal spacers to break the bridge, and that costs real money. Skip it to save a few dollars and you get a damp, cold, miserable can. The financing headache is genuine, and it is not going away next year. The curved walls make some standard windows and layouts awkward, and they raise real questions about escaping a fire, which you must design around. And the passive solar magic depends heavily on where you live. Point that glass wall south in a sunny climate and it is a gift. Try the same thing in a cloudy northern valley and the numbers get much softer. The honest answer, as it so often is, depends on where you build and how carefully you do it. So if you are still leaning in, here is where you actually start. First, separate the shell from the finished home in your head. The steel arch kit is the cheap part, and stories of homes under $35,000 are almost always counting the and a lot of the owner's own labor, not a turnkey house with plumbing, wiring, and a kitchen. Budget for the inside. Second, insulation is not optional, so price it early. Fiberglass runs roughly 50 cents to $1.50 a square foot, and spray foam runs about $1.50 to $2.50 a square foot. And for one of these buildings, spray foam that seals the curve and stops the sweating is usually worth every cent. Third, do not buy a bare kit. Order engineered stamped drawings built for your local wind and snow loads, because that stamp is what satisfies a building inspector and later an insurer. Fourth, deal with the paperwork before you fall in love with the plan. Download your county's zoning code and search the text for the word Quonset. Call the building department with your parcel number, and if you belong to a homeowners association, Read its covenants because those can forbid the building even where the county allows it, and if the rules where you are prove impossible, know that plenty of people solve this by building on unincorporated rural land with little or no zoning, where you truly can put out what you want. Line up a portfolio lender early and go in with that stamped engineering in hand. If figuring out how to cut your bills, build something that outlasts the storm, and lean a little less on a system that was never designed in your favor is the kind of thing you want more of, then subscribing is the simplest way to make sure the next one of these actually finds its way back to you. And if this one was worth your time, YouTube thinks you are going to like the one already waiting for you on your screen.